He was lying naked under the trees with his rags spread across the limbs above him when another rider going down the river reined up and stopped. He turned his head. Through the willows he could see the legs of the horse. He rolled over on stomach. The man got down and stood beside the horse. He reached and got his twine-handled knife. "Howdy there," said the rider. He didn't answer. He moved to the side to see better through the branches. "Howdy there, where ye at? What do you want?" "Wanted to talk to the dot." "What about hellfire?" "Come on out. I'm white and Christian." The kid was reaching up through the willows trying to get his britches. The belt was hanging down and he tugged at it, but the britches were hung on a limb. "God damn," said the man. "You ain't up in the tree or the why? Don't you go on and leave me the hell alone. Just wanted to talk to the age. Didn't intend to get ye all riled up. You done got me riled. Was you the feller knocked in that Mexer's head yesterday evening? I ain't the law. Who wants to know? Captain White. He wants to sign that feller up to join the army." "The army?" "Yes." "What army company under Captain White? We going to whip up on the Mexicans. The war's over." "He says it ain't over. Where are you at?" He rose and hauled the breeches down from where he'd hung them and pulled them on. He pulled on his boots and put the knife in the right boot leg and came out from the willows pulling in his shirt. The man was sitting in the grass with his legs crossed. He was dressed in buckskin, and he wore a plug hat of dusty black silk, and he had a small Mexican cigar in the corner of his teeth. When Ann saw what clawed its way out through the willows, he shook his head. "Kindly fell on hard times, ain't the sun," he said. "I just ain't fell on no good ones." "You ready to go to Mexico?" "I ain't lost nothin' down there. It's a chance for thee to raise the self in the world. You best make a move some way or another, for I go plumb in under." "What do they give thee?" "Every man gets a horse and his ammunition." "Reckon we might find some clothes in your case. I ain't got no rifle." "We'll find the one." "What about wages?" "Hellfire, son. You won't need no wages. You get to keep everything you can raise. We go into Mexico. Spoils of war. Ain't a man in the company want come out, a big landowner." "How mucklin' do you own now?" "I don't know nothin' about soldiering." The man eyed him. He took the unlit cigar from his teeth and turned his head and spat and put it back again. "Where the from?" he said. "Tennessee, Tennessee." "Well, I don't misdoubt, but what you can shoot a rifle." The kid squatted in the grass. He looked at the man's horse. The horse was fitted out in tooled leather with worked silver trim. It had a white blaze on its face and 4 white stockings, and it was cropping up great teethfuls of the rich grass. "Where you from?" said the kid. "I've been in Texas since 38. If I'd not run up on Captain White, I don't know where I'd bet this day. I was sorrier sight even than what you are, and he come along and raised me up like set my feet in the path of righteousness. I done took to drinking and whoring till hell would have me. He's seen something in me worth saving, and I see it in you. What do ye say?" "I don't know. Just come with me and meet the captain." The boy pulled at the haulms of grass. He looked at the horse again. "Well," he said, "don't reckon I did hurt nothin'." They rode through the town with the recruiter splendid on the stocking-footed horse and the kid behind him on the mule like something he'd captured. They rode through narrow lanes where athwattled huts steamed in the heat. Grass and prickly pear grew on the roofs and goats walked about on them, and somewhere off in that squalid kingdom of mud the sound of the little devils told thinly. They turned up Commerce Street through the main plaza among rafts off wagons. and they crossed another plaza where boys were selling grapes and figs from. Little trunda carts. A few bony dogs slank off before them. They rode through the military plaza, and they passed the little street where the boy and the mule had drunk the night before, and there were clusters of women and girls at the well, in many shapes of wicker-covered clay jars, standing about. They passed a little house where women inside were wailing, and the little hearsay cart stood at the door with the horses patient and motionless in the heat and the flies. The captain kept quarters in a hotel on a plaza where there were trees and a small green gazebo with benches. An iron gate at the hotel front opened into a passageway with a courtyard at their rear. The walls were whitewashed and set with little, ornate colored tiles. The captain's man wore carved boots with tall heels that rang smartly on the tiles and on the stairs ascending framed courtyard to the rooms above. In the courtyard there were green plants growing, and they were freshly watered and steaming. The captain's man strode down the long balcony and rapped sharply at the door at the end. A voice said for them to come in. He sat at a wickerwork desk writing letters. The captain. They stood attending, the captain's man with his black hat in his hands. The captain rode on, nor did he look up. Outside the kid could hear a woman speaking in Spanish. Other than that, there was just the scratching of the captain's pen. When he had done, he laid down the pen and looked up. He looked at his man, and then he looked at the kid, and then he bent his head to read what he'd written. He nodded to himself and dusted the letter with sand from a little onyx box and folded it. Taking a match from a box off them on the desk, he lit it and held it to a stick of sealing wax until a small red medallion had pooled onto the paper. He shook out the match, blew briefly at the paper, and knuckled the seal with his ring. Then he stood the letter between two books on his desk and leaned back in his chair and looked at the kid again. He nodded gravely. "Take seats," he said. They eased themselves into a kind of settle made from some dark wood. The captain's man had a large revolver at his belt, and as he sat he hitched the belt around so that the piece lay cradled between his thighs. He put his hat over it and leaned back. The kid folded his busted boots one behind the other and sat upright. The captain pushed his chair back and rose and came around to the front of the desk. He stood there for a measured minute, and then he hitched himself up on the desk and sat with his boots dangling. He had gray in his hair and in the sweeping mustaches that he wore, but he was nodal. "So you're the man," he said. "What man?" said the kid. "What man, sir?" said the captain's man. "How old are you, son?" 19. The captain nodded his head. He was looking the kid over. "What happened to you?" "What?" "Say, sir," said the recruiter. "Sir," I said, "what happened to you?" The kid looked at the man sitting next to him. He looked down at himself, and he looked at the captain again. "I was fell on by robbers," he said. "Robbers?" said the captain. "Took everything I had. Took my watch and everything." "Have you got a rifle?" "Not no more, I ain't." "Where was it you were robbed?" "I don't know. There wasn't no name to it. It was just a wilderness." "Where were you coming from?" "I was coming from Naka, just, yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir." "How many were there?" The kid stared at him. "Robbers." "How many robbers?" 7 or 8, I reckon. I got busted in the head with a skeleton." The captain squinted one eye at him. "Were they Mexicans?" "Some Mexicans and niggers. They was a white or two with them. They had a bunch of cattle thieves stole. Only thing they left me with was a old piece of knife I had in my boot." The captain nodded. He folded his hands between his knees. "What do you think of the treaty?" he said. The kid looked at the man on the settle next to him. He had his eyes shut. He looked down Athie's thumbs. "I don't know nothing about it," he said. "I'm afraid that's the case with a lot of Americans," said the captain. "Where are you from, son?" "Tennessee." "You weren't with the volunteers at Monterey, were you?" "No, sir." "Bravest bunch of men under fire I believe I ever saw. I suppose more men from Tennessee bled and died on the field in northern Mexico than from any other state. Did you know that?" "No, sir. They were sold out, fought and died down there, in that desert, and then they were sold out to be their own country." The kid sat silent. "Thank you so much for watching. Truly, the fact that you stayed until the end of this video says something important about you. It shows that you care, that you're hungry, that somewhere deep inside, you believe you're meant for more, and you're ready to take the small steps to get there. The slight edge isn't just a concept. It's a way of living. It's a quiet power that works in the background, shaping your future through the choices you make every single day. Most people ignore it. They think one small decision doesn't matter, but you're learning the truth that every small decision matters more than you can imagine. It's easy to overlook the power of reading just one page a day, walking for 10 minutes, saying no to junk food, putting your phone away and focusing, saving a single penny. But those tiny steps, the ones that seem so simple, even invisible, they build momentum. And momentum builds results. Greatness doesn't arrive in some grand moment. It's crafted in the quiet, in the routine, in the choices that no one else sees. And if you stick with those small steps, if you keep showing up when no one claps, if this video gave you even a little push of inspiration, then don't let it stop here. Like the video, subscribe for more content like this, and share it with someone you care about. Someone who's maybe just one idea away from turning their life around. Your story is still being written, and the pen is in your hand. Thanks again for watching. Keep growing, keep believing, and never forget, your slight edge begins now.